Hey, I had a mix-up. Hey, class, I'm sorry, I had a mix-up on my Zoom meeting. I had two Zoom links, and so I clicked on the wrong one. So I apologize for being a little bit late. I was like, nobody's here? Okay, so my apologies for that. So is this, did I use exclamation marks? I said Viscom 2, and I used exclamation marks. Is that the one that you clicked on, or you don't know?
No, it just had Viscom 2, like Roman numerals.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so are you just now?
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Did you just now log in, or have any of you guys been waiting for a few minutes?
I've been waiting for a few minutes, yeah.
Oh, all right, Sydney, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know why that's happening. All right. Anyway, okay. I guess we're all here. Let me just do a little roll call. Attendance roster. So got Lucas. Just give me a minute while I do this. Lucas, yes, you're here. Sydney, yes, you're here. Shanta, yep, great. I'm just gonna see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're missing just one person. Okay, anyway, I'll say it's all good. I'll say everyone's here. How is everyone? Everyone's good? Yeah, great.
Good.
Cool. Okay, so today we're going to run through some basic sketching techniques and some different tools, and and some I know you guys have an introduction into perspective, but we're going to work on that a little bit more and focus it really on cylindrical devices like bottles and round things, really. So, in these first couple of weeks, or first week, you guys can really, nail down ellipses and hopefully be able to use that for the rest of the class. So, as I say, this week and a little bit of next week is going to be really focused on cylindrical stuff. So I hope you're cool with that. It can be anything from water bottles to, I don't know, speakers, but anything that's got cylindrical elements about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through some basics. Let me just get some paper here. Okay. So just got some plain photocopy paper here, and I'm going to pull out my favorite utensils and give you the pros and cons of each one. Got my Sharpie twin tip, got the Prismacolor, got a mechanical pencil, I got a Pilot V7, and a Bic, and where's my other Bic? Oh, my favorite Bic's not in here. Maybe it's in here. Oh, there. Okay. Okay. So I've got a few materials here. I'm going to show you the difference and the sketch quality that comes out of that. I'm going to just set up my camera here. Plug this little guy in. I'm going to angle my camera down a little bit so you can see me sketching at the same time as when I share my screen.
World Tour is on Hulu because I got HBO Max. Do you watch it later? Yes. Okay.
I'm going to mute this. All right. Okay, so I've got a little bit of paper here. Get my camera turned on. And I'm going to share my screen now. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? No. Okay, great. Submit. Okay, share screen. So I just want to mention, if you guys are new to Zoom, I guess not, because I guess you had it a little bit last semester, but you know, you can share screen. If you want to share something with me, that's cool. And so you can share it, and I can actually draw and annotate on the, actually on screen, so I can really annotate in front of you guys. So desktop 1, optimize. Okay, share. Okay, so you can see my desktop, yep?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'll turn it on so multiple people can share their screen if you want to. Okay, and let's turn on my camera. This is a really cool little camera. As far as, it's super cheap, like $100, less than $100, like 75 bucks. Even less than that, actually. Super cheap, but actually really effective. Way better than the ones at CCS where they have this big Epson thing. So I just got to focus the camera, so I'll just find something. This is what I was doing, fashion accessories design. Also, I have created a YouTube channel under the CCS thing, so I will share that whole channel. I sent you an email, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, with, I finally got the videos uploaded. So it was a little pain in the neck, but I figured it all out in the end. And I'm going to share, so I just want channel, and then I have my fashion accessories design sketching class on there, videos, and also you guys Viscom stuff. So you can always look. You know, I'm really curious about how this works. So we're supposed to upload stuff onto YouTube, right? And so what's stopping people from sharing the YouTube video and like getting free CCS classes? Because it's not restricted. We don't have passwords and all that stuff. It's just, it's pretty open. And if I had a link, well, I can make a link. Anyone can make a link and send it to lots of people. And so I wonder if CCS is kind of, they obviously know about it. It's like a no-brainer. So anyway, it's kind of curious. So you can watch my fashion accessories class and obviously the Viscom. So I don't know how that works. So, okay, let's get this big. All right, I'm gonna make sure my camera is all set up. Just autofocus this sucker. It is focus. Let's just, okay, that's set up. And I think the colors are all good for now. If the colors get weird and you can't see, because I'm not always looking at my screen, I'm generally looking at my paper. If you see there's something amiss, you know, just please shout out. And also sometimes I accidentally leave a window on top of a window, and you know, it's kind of weird. And so, and I don't really see it because I'm not looking at my screens all the time. I'm pretty focused on doing a sketch. So always shout out. And also in the middle of me talking, because I get into the zone when I'm starting to sketch, I get into the zone and I'm explaining what I do, but you just need to shout out if you want me to do something over or explain something a little bit more. So just, as I say, just please shout out. Somebody talk so I can see if the volume's good.
Hello.
Okay, Sydney, awesome. I can hear you. I guess everyone else is the same. Camera set up. So let's talk about cylinders and the concept behind it. And I know this is probably a little bit of a repeat for you guys, but I'm just saying it's very important, this the cylinder stuff and ellipses. So I'm going to run through some concepts with you. And I have some practical things to really illustrate this stuff. So before I get into practical implementations, let me tell you the theory behind this. So as you all know, we have a perspective. We have our vanishing points. And so some of you showed me your work on Tuesday, and so I've seen that you've already done this before. So it's a little bit of a recap, I guess. So we've got one perspective point, vanishing point, sorry, and we have another one over here somewhere, but I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to deal with this. So we work with this perspective. So here's a box. And as you know, vanishing points for the top of that box. And then we'll just bring this down, a nice shallow box. So as you know, this vanishing point works with all of these sides. And then the other vanishing point is way off on the page somewhere. So let's say I want to put some circles in here, some holes. Now, this works with with this vanishing point. This whole piece, and this is what I'm going to talk about, is a little bit muddled and a little bit messy how I describe this, but there is an end. There is an end. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it will all become a little bit more clear as I mumble through this. So this panel, since it's working with this perspective, and so we're using this vanishing point as the axles, okay? And now, as I sketch, I'll demonstrate. As you know what an axle is, and all circles have an imaginary axle. But in a real life situation, to put it into real context, cars have wheels, and there's an axle. Let's do the rear wheels. Because there's an axle that goes through this to connect the wheels, and then it connects to the drivetrain. But anyway, there's an axle that goes through this, and the axle joins up right in the middle there. So if there was an imaginary axle, it would go all the way, the perspective line would go all the way through here. And so an easy way to remember how ellipses work is the circle rotates around an axle, around this axle or axis, but I'm going to call it an axle because that's very much more easier to understand. So in this case right here, applying this principle. So here's the axle, and I'm going to use that axle to create that ellipse. Now how I put this axle, how I use this axle for the ellipse is, this is a blown up, this is a exploded view. So here's the axle, and then the ellipse goes in 90 degrees to that, to the axle. And when I say 90 degrees, what I mean is the thinnest part of the ellipse is where the axle goes. And then the widest part, to prove this 90 degrees, is the widest part of the ellipse. Okay. And to kind of double prove this, see, I got to get through all this theoretical BS first. And this is the boring stuff before we get hardcore sketching. We will do in a few minutes, but here's a circle guide. And as you all know, they have a perfectly 90-degree crosshair. And then, so when you start squeezing the circle into an ellipse, that 90-degree philosophy still exists. So here's another proof. So here's an ellipse guide. Once again, we have a 90-degree thing, which is this crosshair. And this is proof that ellipses are made of this 90-degree cross-section. Always the widest part is 90 degrees to the thinnest part. Okay, so to further prove that the axle, or the main axis, we work with that in perspective, is I'm going to line up this main axis with the perspective grid. And now I can apply a circle. I'm going to put a little ellipse inside there using my ellipse guides. So notice how my main axis is working with this vanishing point line. And that's how I place it. I'm using the perspective. And so this is basically 90 degrees. Let's rotate it around. So I'm going to line up my main axis with a vanishing point, and then draw this sucker in there. And so once again, it's working with this vanishing point. Now, a lot of a lot of people get it mixed up. So for example, let's draw another box. In fact, let's use all perspective points. So there's a vanishing point. This is a 3-point, and this is a little bit more tricky, but the vanishing point's way off the page here, back here. The vanishing point is way off the page up here, and up here. Vanishing point's way off here. So if I wanted to put an ellipse on this face, it's going to work with this vanishing point headed down here. So I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put in just a reference. So I can put in this ellipse. And then I'm going to put, this goes, here's the 90-degree axle. And then that's 90, this is 90 degree to the widest point. So if I wanted, and in a real life context, this is a facade. This is the top facade. Well, okay, hold on. Let's do it. Let's do another one. Let's do this one first, over here. So I'm going to put a line in there, an axle line, and put an ellipse. And then 90 degrees to that is the actual crosshair. Now, in a real life context, so let's pretend this car is a box. And this is one pane, this is one facade, which is this facade. Then the top facade is this facade. And then the other facade is this facade. So since we're working on this side, this facade, notice how the wheel rotates. The axle's going straight through there, and this perspective of this box is going, the vanishing point is way back there. But the wheel rotates in that position. So in this case, the wheel rotates here and the axle works. So the axle's going back in perspective. There's the axle, and it's going way back in perspective over there. Now, this facade is the front. So in the front, I've got lights. You can't see it, it's too dark, but I've got lights in here, just so you can see there's some lights in here. This is kind of like a wheel also. Even though it doesn't literally rotate, it does have an axle going through it. And this facade is this facade. And so if I wanted to put any ellipse in there, I would draw my perspective, because this panel is working with this vanishing point, and I will put in an ellipse in there. And so theoretically, this is 90 degrees. And then finally, for this facade, this is this is working with this down here, this perspective point. So if I were to rotate my paper around, this is the side of the car or whatever it is, and the wheel is rotating with the axle because the axle goes through the wheels. Same with if I rotated it this way, this is the front of the car or the front of the thing, then this is the side wheel and it rotates this way. There's the axle going towards that vanishing point. You know, I really dislike explaining ellipses because it's so confusing. But over repetition and how when we start actually getting into the sketches, I will be able to look at your sketches. You'll look at how I build sketches, but I'll look at your sketches and show you where you're going wrong. And so through this constant repetition, we'll all master this, these little suckers. They're a little pain in the neck, these guys. That's the basics. And I've seen some of your sketches from last semester. And so I know you've gone through this, but I really have to, you know, give you a demonstration. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate different different, I'm going to mix the ellipse stuff with showing you different materials and why I love certain pens and pencils, dislike others. Ballpoint pen is my go-to. And you know all about this, the warm-up stuff. And this is last year's thing, what I'm going to show you, but I'm going to show you also this semester's thing. You know the old warm-up thing where you do horizontal lines, you know, and keep them super parallel. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you why this is important, but I'm going to show you a real life situation of why it is important to be able to master confident, good long strokes. I'll show you in a Photoshop demonstration in just a sec. You've already learned this from last semester, but try doing other things now. For example, curve. So these are all great warm-ups. And this is just how we're going to get our, get our muscle memory going and, getting warmed up, so to speak. So I'm using a ballpoint pen in this case. And that's why I love ballpoint. This is why I love ballpoint pen. It's no BS. It just puts down the marks. Okay, let's move to the same type of thing here, but using a Sharpie. Sharpie is a felt tip, and so it doesn't feed the ink through as fast as a ballpoint. So let's try the same technique with a Sharpie. Super light, not as bold, but it still works. But it's I don't know, I just don't like it as much. And I'll show you how I use this pen in a more effective manner, as far as I'm concerned at least. I use these for slow drawings. So if I want to do some thumbnails, I love this for thumbnails because short strokes are easy and a little bit more prominent, and I can, you're really committed. Once you use this sucker, I like how it looks because it bleeds a little. It has these little bleed spots. And so this pen is really great. It's really great if you take it into Illustrator and do a thing called Live Trace, which turns it all into vector. But this thing's very bleedy, but it's not as expressive for me as the ballpoint pen. So if I'm doing these lines, if I need to do a slow line, I'm a little bit shaky. Not because I'm hungover, but just because I want to get a good solid line with this pen. Okay, so that's this. And since I like to draw on cheap photocopy paper, these guys I don't like for this because this is a Prismacolor and I gotta constantly sharpen it because, as you know, I mean, this is all, you kind of know this stuff, but notice how this thing wears down. And I'm not, okay, it's already wearing down. And now my strokes are getting really wide. And so I constantly have to sharpen this. That's why, one reason why I don't like using this so much on photocopy paper. However, if you're drawing on marker paper, it's way smoother. Or if you're drawing on that really smooth photocopy paper, these things are pretty good, but it's still gonna wear down a lot. So I don't like having to sharpen it. Let's just try some of this other warm-up stuff. And it smears. It smears, it's messy. It gets, slowly it'll build up on the bottom of your hand and your sketch looks really kind of dirty. And the same principle applies to lead pencil. If I were to use a pencil, I would use this good old trusty, old school mechanical pencil. Because it's constantly 0.5. It's constantly 0.5 diameter. It doesn't break, and it's consistent. So I can do all of this without it getting dull, and that's why I would prefer to use this. I understand the merits with this thing. You know, you can do some quick shadings. And it has a very expressive type of thing, which I'm cool with. I know it has its advantages, but it's just me.
So would you say, so we're focusing right now on sketching, which is why you highlighted the use of pens.
Yes.
So would you recommend using Prismacolors for like full renders though still?
Depends.
Or do you also use pens for your renders?
I use pens for my renders. I use ballpoint pen because, so I did that with, I'll show you, I'll give you an example of how I would do this. Firstly, I like the thin lines. And look how expressive that line is. It's light, it goes to nothing, but if I wanted it to go dark, I really get full maximum. This is the ultimate for getting full expression. And so I can go super light, which I need to a lot. Okay. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it might be just me, but I think the video is lagging quite a bit. So what you saying? What you're?
Wait, let me look. I can see a live feed here. It's lagging about a second or a half a second for me. What about, what's the consensus in the class? Is it lagging more for you? Is it?
It's not too bad for me. If you wave your hand a lot, then it starts to lag.
Yeah.
But like just for the sketching, it's doing okay over here.
Yeah, for me it's fine too.
Okay, yeah. If I do really fast movements, yeah, it's gonna lag a little bit. But Advaith, I'm sorry if it's not. I can reduce the. I can take it down to 800 by 600. And oh shit. Excuse me. When I do that, I have to turn off my camera and restart it. But it also works. You know, that lower res, you hardly notice it, but you do notice pixels. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So this might help you. This might help for the lag. And I don't think you'll even notice the pixelation. Let's just make sure that it's that same size. Yeah, 800 by 600. Let me just make sure that this autofocus is not going to keep autofocusing. Put that like that. Okay. Let's see if this works better. Right, so, okay, that's pencil. So how I would do the same, you know this is a core. So I do the same, I rotate my paper and then so. And I'm just creating a core like that. For me, it's more accurate and I just love the thinness. But to answer your question, would I do a full rendering with pencil? Sometimes. But I would not do it on this cheap photocopy paper because it's just too messy. It's too, and it's too annoying to sharpen my pencil, and I'll run through these like a beast. I will get through a whole pencil really easy. But if I'm on a nice smooth piece of paper, then maybe I would use a pencil. But I don't have, I mean, I do have smooth paper, but I'd go get it out of my cabinet. And you know, we'll talk, I can do some pencil sketches also, real pencil sketches. But just for now, let's just figure out like some basics. So, and then finally with a Sharpie, the same shape. You know, let me do the ellipse because I'm using the top pane. So this is my perspective going deep down into my belly or way back here. And so this is the 90 degree, and that's how I could put in that ellipse. But so, and I'm going to shade this one in with this pen. I think the Sharpie is really in between the ballpoint pen and the pencil. A lot of people do use these type of pens, Sharpie, and I guess Sharpie and this also, this V7, Pilot V7, Precise V7 is basically the same as a Sharpie, but you don't get that thick stuff. But, you know, a lot of product designers use these things and they're very, you know, it's fine if you want to use these things. I like them, but these are just different styles. Each one's going to create a different style. And since this is smaller, it's going to be way more effective, I guess. But these things, I really love these things too. But those are my favorites. I'm not even going to do a mechanical pencil. You know how that is. So these things, or the Bic Crystal is basically the same as this one, but this one's thinner. Okay. Let me just confirm my ellipses. So since we're talking with this panel here, I've got a half an ellipse here. So let's just see. Let's just put a 90 degree through this and let's bust this in 90 degrees. Yep. And then with a ballpoint pen, I'm just going to bust, hold on, my lip. So I'm using this top panel and the perspective of that is vanishing points down here. So this is my 90 degree. Hold on, 90 degrees. Tripped out. Sometimes you can get really tripped out. Your visuals get like, okay. So those are those are my three favorite tools. Now, let's start getting into some more elliptical type shaped things. Got a few examples here. Whether you are talking about, well, let's go on. This is obviously it doesn't have a wheel in it, but it has an imaginary axle. Just like a wheel rolls, there's an imaginary axle that goes through here. And there's so many ellipses. When you start designing volume knobs, bottles, could be as many as 100 ellipses in that one drawing. So let's just draw a bottle. So I'm going to do something that's my main axis, and I want to build all my ellipses off that. But okay, let's try in a perspective. Okay, we'll work with this. I'll do a perspective later. I'm going to start building up, before I get into ellipses, I'm going to start building up my shape. Now, draw really lightly. When you first start drawing, draw super light because you're going to make mistakes. Look, I've already made a mistake. See, but I saw that mistake and it's going to be cool. It looks cooler when you make mistakes and you show it. If you use a pencil and you erase out your mistakes, it loses a lot of funk. It loses a lot of the creative vibe. So anyway, there's no perspective in this, but I'm going to start filling this in. Okay, here's a top, and I'm just going to start building up ellipses. And by the way, I have to rotate the paper because I'm comfortable doing ellipses only one way, counterclockwise. But that's just me. I don't know you guys, but I'm only comfortable doing ellipses that way. I hardly ever do them the other way. I always turn my paper to whatever I'm the most comfortable with. So there's a label here. Let's put in some extra little funkies, like, I don't know. And so I'm using this axle, just like the axles in here, imaginary, using that axle to build up my whole bottle. And so now I've got some basics of my bottle. Now I can start connecting the dots. Adding the cap. Maybe there's a little inner stuff. Maybe this is glass. And I can see in the glass a little bit. So I'm starting to build this out. Now, I've already got it basically built. Let me just start to put in some elements to start giving it even more shape. I'm gonna put a contour curve in. So there's the bottle cap. It goes, no, it kind of goes straight across for now, but I want it to come down. So it's a nice curvy bottle like that vanilla bottle, just keeping all my lines parallel. Theoretically, the other side you wouldn't be able to see. You wouldn't see the other side unless it's glass, but anyway, that's the contour curve here. If I were to, on this, and then so if I wanted to do another contour curve, I'm gonna start putting it in here. And then bringing my line down. So the reason why these practice things are so important is because you do parallel lines constantly. Look at all these parallel lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are technically as well 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this parallel line stuff is very, very important. Now, let me show you why, a real life example of why this is important. Okay, I'm gonna open up Photoshop. It's already open. Let me open an example. So by the way, here's my favorite software that comes with the Adobe suite. Favorite file viewing software, which is Adobe Bridge. And I'm just in the habit of using it because the Macintosh way, the thumbnails are too small. I can't see what the heck's going on. So anyway, let's just go into CCS and let's just pull out some examples in here because I know this is relevant. Okay, here. Open this in Photoshop. Okay. I have to really sort out my camera situation. I'm gonna figure it out over the weekend. But anyway, so let me get my pen. The reason why these parallel lines are so important is because, let's just test, okay, is because everything's made in parallel lines. I mean, we've got this parallel line. We've got a shadow parallel line. We've got a stitching line. Got the stitching line, so let's just bring that down. There's another parallel line. And you want to try to make these kind of accurate. Not super accurate because we're sketching, but look at all of these parallel lines everywhere. So that's why those parallel lines are so important to practice and master. So that's meant to be a proof. I mean, there's more proof as far as whatever the top of this is. And instead of just straight lines, you're going to be wanting to do curves. The bottom of the strap, the thickness of its leather. And so this curvy stuff is actually more fun than straight lines, but doing these parallel lines are important. You use them for the rest of your life, I promise you. And it's a bit of a no-brainer. Now, I'm going to show you the cool way to do lines and the uncool way, but unless you do a really cool technique, you can prove me wrong. But I'm going to go back to this thing. Oh, take this Photoshop away. Okay. Yeah, my hand looks really dark, but it'll be fine for now. So notice how I'm doing these very loose, very light lines. I'm barely applying any pressure to the pen. A lot of people sketch like this. It's called chicken scratch. Actually, I will chicken scratch some stuff out, like some hardcore ellipses or something, but it's not as nice and as efficient as doing solid strokes. Solid strokes is just, it looks better for a designer. This is more for an illustrator and or for a fine artist. But for us as designers, I think the beautiful, solid, confident strokes is the way. I think it just looks better. So this is a no-no, but this is a yes. I built this bottle out of very light lines, and now I'm going to flesh it out a little bit. So the bottom is generally shadow. So we're going to say the sunlight's coming from here, this side. So I'm going to just very loosely put in a shadow, and I'm not even going to finish off the shadow. You know how complicated shadows get when they start shining through legs of tables and chairs and crazy stuff. I don't want to tax my brain on that because it's not the part of the design, and it's not super important. So if the light's coming from this way, I'm putting in my shadow. Now I start on top of my very light lines. I start to fill in the shadow side. And I'm just going to probably leave it like this because I want to keep this side very light because you want to have that variation of line weights and line qualities. And then I'm going to do the same with this side of the bottle cap. I'm kind of chicken scratching my way through, actually. When I get to this point, I do kind of chicken scratch my way through. Then this is a label. And then we'll do, you know, the classic core. I see that I made a mistake in this ellipse is correct, but it should be more round because this is not an ellipse anymore. This is the top of the bottle. It kind of curves around. And so I'm just going to modify this. Oh, I screwed up. I made that too heavy, but it should have been heavy on this side, but whatever. Light's coming from here. I'm going to do another ellipse. I'm going to just chicken scratch my way through this one because there's a shadow. I'm going to start shading in my shadow, and how I shade my shadows in is a very systematic way of just parallel lines. And this is really true to the fact that parallel lines are important. So that's how I start shading, and I'm going to shade the back of this bottle once again with my parallel lines. I have to rotate the paper because my wrist naturally does this. That's my natural thing, or this. And so doing the opposite, I mean this way, I'm going this way. This is not natural for me, and so so this is the most natural way for me, so that's why I'm turning the paper so it fits my most natural movement. And I'm going to start in the middle here, and I'm going to work my way in. And I'm going to try to make the lines darker and tighter as I go in. And then I'm going to continue that. Or what's a nice touch is if you make these lines go into perspective. That's how I generally shade things. This isn't even a core, but let's do a core now. The light's coming from here, so this is going to be my core along in here. So parallel lines, tight, and as you move out, I separate the lines more. But as I go around here, I separate them also, but not as much. So now my core is right in here. And I'll put a little core in here. I'll just do the flick. I'll do a flick in here. And there's my core that goes into the top of that bottle. Then on the other side, I'm not going to go super heavy on it because it still needs to be light, but there is going to be a secondary core right in here. but not, I'm going to go light. And so parallel lines. So now my so this is, let's just say C1, core 1, core 2, secondary core. This is my highlight, and I'm just going to flick this and just fade it out. So, and then of course, the easiest core right here is here, dark. And then secondary core, light. So that's basically, that's how I sketch shading, using the ballpoint pen to do this. Does anyone have any questions right now? Okay. So if I were to embellish this bottle, some stripes, some graphics, all I have to do is just, I don't have to draw the ellipses anymore. I just follow my existing ellipses and add some labels, because I've already built my foundation, and then maybe some stripes around here. This one I'm going to do quick because it's nice and easy. A little detail on the cap, put a core in there. Same up here. Okay, I'm going to move on to another. I'll upload all of these sketches onto, I'll put it into my Google Drive folder. And you can always go back to that and look at it, as well as the videos. Now let's start designing something fresh, something that I don't have in front of me. Something like, I don't even know yet. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm gonna apply perspective to this elliptical thing. Let's start off with a box. Sometimes it's nice to start with the drawing first, very light, and then put the perspective after. The same goes with an ellipse. Sometimes it's nice to not set your perspective grid out yet, and just do it after you've got a shape. So I've got a shape here, and I'll put an ellipse, very light, because I might mess up. Okay. Now that I've got a basic shape, now I'm gonna build my perspective around the shape. Because who knows, maybe I wanna put in details into here. I don't know what this thing is yet, but we'll see. So I'm gonna put in, I'm gonna use these lines as my perspective built from the box first. And I'm gonna eyeball what's about halfway between this point and this point, halfway there, halfway between these points is about here. So now I know there, and now I can eyeball the rest of the perspective. I'm just eyeballing, trying to get these lines as, you know, spaced in between as much as possible. There, let's do this one. This is the 3-point job, but I'm not even gonna make a vanishing point. This is gonna just go straight down. And then in case I want to add extras around, I'm going to use this, and I'm eyeballing. I hope they land at the same vanishing point. I doubt they will, but it'll be good enough for now. So there, I've got, and let's just add some more of these ones. So I used the box to start the perspective on this. Because so I might want to have a little extra here. I don't know, an extra add-on. Maybe, I don't know what this is yet, but I'm starting to develop an idea. So there, and then since I built extra perspective lines on here, now I can start adding extra pieces. And this was all started from doing a box first instead of perspective first. And make sure all the perspectives are going in the right way. So I've got 2 boxes. What could this be? This could be, let's rotate it around and see what I can see. The old squint technique. Well, I've got no clue what it is. It's not working for me right now. So this is a technique of building the box first. Now, let me tell you a nice little trick as far as ellipses to get your ellipses right. Instead of starting with that vanishing point and all that perspective, what's easier is to start with the ellipse and build the perspective around the ellipse. So I'll just bust in an ellipse. All right, now I can build the perspective around the ellipse. So I know this is the thinnest part and this is the axle. So there. And okay, let's start building a perspective off of that ellipse. Just spraying out these perspective lines. There we go. I know this is perfectly in perspective because I built the circle first and put in the perspective after. Of course, this is the obligatory 90-degree thing, but you don't need to put that 90-degree thing in. But now I know that my ellipse is correct. So let's start building out this whatever it is. Maybe it's a flashlight. So I'm just going to just very loosely just build in these ellipses, and I know they're all more or less correct. You're forgiven, and I'm forgiving myself for not making it perfect. At least my ellipses are not completely whack, but they're not all perfect because it's a sketch, and I don't want to make sure everything's so perfect because it's loose. So let's make this into a flashlight. I'm going to put in where the light bulb goes. So I've got this part where maybe this is where the, okay, no, okay, if I just add just a bunch of ellipses, I can start to flesh out this flashlight design. My next step is, and this is just how I work, is I'm putting in a contour line so I can start to figure out how things work. Okay, so that's a contour line, and if it were to follow through, it would come into this focus area. This is, when I say focus area, I'm thinking this is the end of a flashlight where you can turn the head and perhaps narrow the beam or increase the width of the beam. I'm putting in this contour curve quite soon because it's helping me understand what the shape of my device is. And so it would tuck in here and it would tuck in here because it tucks in. And then so this is the, let's just call it the flashlight head. Okay. So let's start fleshing in more ellipses. So there, I'm gonna, so here's my contour line. It dives in here. There's like, okay, and then it cuts in here, there. Cuts in here. So at this point of my sketch, of this flashlight concept, now I would start to move into a side view, and I will work these drawings all in together at the same time. So let's do a side view. It's pretty much of a simple rectangle, side view at least. I mean, it's really a cylinder. I'll put in my axle, and then let's just call it the head, flashlight head, there. But right now, my design has a little chamfer in there. And let's join it up. So this is a side view of this. You don't see this part because it's hidden behind here, but you kind of get the idea that me just applying these contour curves help me depict what the side view is. So now I've got two views of the sucker. And if I want to be super simple and easy, I'll say, all right, well, here's my third view. There's the front view. When I'm doing a perfect circle, I do put a cross in there because it always looks good. All right, so let's get in there and keep using these ellipses to flesh out more things. So we need a switch. So I'm going to do a big switch for some real fat fingers. I'm not doing a complete ellipse, but I'm doing just, a partial ellipse. And so I'm just winging it. I don't know if that will really make an ellipse. I don't need to do a whole ellipse. But anyway, this is a switch, and it's a big switch. It's a real fat one for real fat thumbs. So let's start putting in some details. And I need some space for that switch to slide up and down. So this is my switch area. And now I'm going to start fleshing this out hardcore. I'm not going light anymore. I'm going hardcore with some dark lines to pop this cavity out. Because how I'm imagining it is, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna put an arrow in here, an arrow, and that little arrow suggests that you push it with your thumb. It's just like a big thing and you push it with your thumb. Okay, so let me put in an ellipse back here because you need to insert the batteries. And this is gonna be like a battery cap. And I'm gonna do the contour line I drew already here. I'm using the contour line as part of my design. I'm using it to show where, well, accidentally, I'm using those contour lines, happy accidents, if you wanna call it that, to tell me where the edge of my switch is. But I'm gonna start, the contour line goes back here. This is my battery cap that I screw off. Contour lines go inside here. Now, what I can do is I can add that battery cap into my side view. And it tucks in like this, just like my contour lines are showing. Sorry. Okay, I've got a contour line here. And I just want to make a contour line going here. Oh, I've already done it right here. Oh, wow, that matched up. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit harder on this part because as I sketch, I'm starting to see things. And sometimes not all ellipses have to be super fast. I'm going slow now because I would not be able to get that accurate. Just busted it in quick. The same with this one here. And what this is going to be a little lip. So my contour line goes here, goes up, so it kicks out. And the contour line, and it kicks out here. So if I were to implement my 3D sketch into my side view, I've got a bevel here, not a bevel, a chamfer, which you can clearly see here. Make it a little bit darker as it goes around to the bottom. So I can flesh out that side. This looks awkward, so you know what? I'm gonna put a bevel in the back here just to make this thing look cooler, but you won't see it because it's hidden behind here. And then since I'm already doing that form language, I'll apply it to the back here. So now we're getting a silhouette. And you know what? I'm gonna apply it to this part here because this is the form language. I'm chamfering all of the corners. It's an easy machine job. Maybe this thing. So this is how my thought process is working in design. I'm like, well, okay, I've given this like, you know, a certain dimension in here. Maybe this thing, maybe this flashlight head can go back and forth. I don't know what the reason for it is. Maybe as you rotate it and screw it inwards, the light becomes more focused, laser beamish. As you unscrew it, the light spreads out and becomes more like a shotgun type of effect. And maybe that's what this is in here. So my thinking is, all right, if that's my concept, I'm gonna put some diagonal lines in here to suggest it's the threads, screw threads, so this can rotate. So as I go on and developing this, I've gotta, it's poking in, hold on, let's just make this a little bit, okay. I'm gonna put a lens on here, I'm gonna contour it. So my contour line is now gonna go like that, and like that. So now, oh, that doesn't look great. Whatever. This is just a sketch, so it's fine if it's a little bit off. Okay, now I'm gonna start getting harder on some of these other lines. The sun or the light source is basically up here somewhere. So the bottom lines, I'm gonna go dark on here. So it gives it a nice, good base, and then it tucks in there. And I'm going to also bring up my darkness from that point, but I'm not going to take it too far because the light's coming from above. The same down here. I'm going to make this a little bit darker down here. Turn the paper so it works with me. And so I'm constantly adjusting. I see little imperfections, and just because I'm a little OCD, I have to constantly change it. Same up here. There's going to be a dark place in here. Here. Maybe a little bit around here, but the opposite is going to happen here because I've got a lip. The glass is somewhat inset. So that's why I'm making this line darker up here. I might go a little bit darker here also. And I don't have a theory for that for you, sorry. Okay, so I've got my flashlight, light's coming from above. Now I'm just going to build a shadow. Now the shadow, this is basically one big rectangle. Basically, it's one big rectangle side view. So I'm just going to build one big rectangle. I guess I could structure it and bring the edges of these down. I could do that, which I guess I'm doing it for demonstration purposes, but I'm going to connect this corner with this corner, but keeping it all within my perspective grid. So now I've got a shadow, the base of a shadow, but your shadow wants to show, your shadow is your friend, and your shadow is going to help describe the shape. So what I mean by that is, here's the same rectangle in perspective as this, but I've got chamfers. So I'm going to chamfer it here. I'm going to chamfer it. This is the shadow. I'm cutting into the shadow because, oh, there's a chamfer there, and this is where my battery cap is. So that's that shadow. So now my shadow is reiterating the fact of the shape of this thing. Shadow chamfered that corner too. So now my shadow reflects the same as this. It's basically this, but in 3D, the silhouette at least. Now, it's getting confusing for me. I gotta start doing some shading. So I'm gonna do a very simple shading, and it's gonna be a 90-degree perpendicular shade. And so I'm just gonna keep all my lines just 90 degrees. I'm not gonna fade it out. I'm gonna keep it mono. And I'm just gonna fill all of this in. And yes, I admit it takes time. But the thing is, this is how I shade is I think it's a good way, but there's two ways of shading, the crappy way and the good way. This way is for really experienced people, and you'll be able to do it at some point, but I don't recommend it right now. And I still hardly ever shade like this. But one continuous line back and forth, it doesn't look great. But whereas if you spend that extra 5 seconds to do this, each individual line parallel, it will look much smarter and nicer, more designery, and more crafted, because your drawings tell a lot about you. It tells if you're lazy or if you care. Now I'm gonna fill this in, but so you got to show craftsmanship in your drawings. Just like if you had enough money to build a nice house, you're gonna, from scratch, if you're quite well off, you're gonna choose the best contractor, best construction team you can get. They're gonna make the house look good, you're proud of your house, you're wealthy so you can do a good, have a good house. You want it to be able to survive a hurricane. You want that house to look good. You want your wooden windows to be nicely crafted, the dovetails or the 45-degree angles. You want everything, the floor, you can see a good quality house compared to a crappy quality house. And the contractor that you pay to build that house, he's going to, or she's going to get paid a lot of money. Now you want to do the same thing. So employers can see your sketches and see the quality, the love. Did you pay attention at school? Are you going to be a good employee? And they can tell this by your sketches. And so you want to put as much love into your sketches and care as you can. So this is an example of care and love. Oh, this is an X. Until you get like, after you've got a lot of years of experience, then you can do that, but I don't even do that. I still do this. It doesn't matter. Okay, so the light source is from above, so I'm gonna start putting in some cores in this guy. I'm gonna section it out. I'm gonna do a core in here, and this is gonna be darkest here. Once again, the parallel lines. And I'm keeping them in perspective. And then here I'm gonna put another core, just coming off of the edge there. So we start to get some 3D elements. I'm not gonna do this chamfer part right in here because it's gonna have a different, angle. So, but I will go in here, line up my cores. Sounds like I'm saying cores. Maybe I'm thinking about cores. Not really, I don't even drink that stuff. All right, so anyway, there's a core there and a little bit of a core here. I'm gonna do it again in this little back part. I left this area because I'm gonna change the angle of my shading, but still keep the cores lined up. But I'm also gonna radiate my lines around. Notice how I'm radiating them. I'm kind of rotating them along with the shape of the object. Same here. I radiate them around. So it kind of speaks the language, and I'm gonna do the same back here. This is little short ones. Same back here. Okie dokie. So, needs a little bit of extra love in terms of styling. And I'm looking at design really functional right now. If this head, you want to grab it and rotate it to adjust it, or grab it like this and you rotate it like that, you're going to want some grips. All right, I'm going to push here, and this is, this is a little advanced here, but I'm going to do it just for style reasons. I could put little knobs, little lumps in here like this, but it's too predictable for me at least. I mean, I could do that, it's easy, but I'm gonna funk it up a little bit, and I'm gonna make it some curved type grips instead of just the standard flat, because I've seen that standard flat stuff so much that it's pretty boring. So I've got my rough idea where these indentions are. I don't know if they're indentions or, standing proud. But anyway, there, and I want the ends of these things to all work nicely around the rim. I'm using this ellipse as a guide, and I'm trying to finish the ends so they're all kind of in line with each other. And then the same in the back here. So so let me add a little more depth to this sucker, and I'm gonna make it raised. So I'm putting lines underneath. That one might stick out a little bit. I don't know, I'm just doing that for style reasons. And down here, this one might stick out a little bit as well. Okay, the light is coming from above. So since these are sticking out, I'm gonna have to shade these protruding grips. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, great. So now I've got my grips, I've got my switch. I'm going to start shading in some of the surfaces. Just like I shaded these grips, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to find a good angle for these lines, and I'm going to shade it just to start showing that there's changes in the surface. And here, and here. So now I'm starting to get a little bit of volume. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, it's not very well polished. I mean, of course it's a very loose sketch, and I could be finished with this now. Oh, before I forget, this is how I am. I'm constantly seeing stuff and thinking, oh, I'll add this to the side view. Because you can kill two birds with one stone if you work two drawings at the same time. So this is where your thumb touches, and it kicks in here, and it dives in. So there's my switch. Now I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, this is not very well thought out. I need some extra, I just need some extra. So what am I gonna do? Let's stylize it. I was thinking I could easily put a simple rim around here, and I'll start it, but I have another idea. You know, a simple trim piece. I don't know what it is, if it's paint, or if it's a piece of plastic. I don't know. But I thought, you know what, instead of just being very predictable and putting a simple ring around it, I'm going to try to funk it up a little bit by bringing it all the way into here and into here. Because you don't want to be predictable when you're designing stuff and make everything so like, all right, so here's my switch. Okay, and here's the sliding area where it goes, you know, front and back. So, well, just even demonstrating this is giving me ideas. Okay, you can round off the corners. But I was thinking originally, I'm gonna go super light on this. I was thinking originally it would go like this and like this and dive in. So an example here would be, well, I'm not gonna do that. I've got this idea. So I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is instead, I'm going to go around this, but I'm not gonna do it predictably. I'm gonna go out like this. So now let me just really flesh in this cavity where my switch is. And now my graphic, and I'll color in that graphic with some simple graphical symbol, which are these lines like an engineering drawing. This is going to be colored, but now I thought this is going to be one function, two functions, three functions, maybe. So that's why I decided not to just make it so predictable like this. I thought, you know what, instead, I'm going to increase this size and then give it, so I can have this graphic to use as a tool to highlight this function. So maybe this is off, this is medium, and this is full. So, you know, when I'm sketching, I'm trying to figure this out. So I screwed up here. I mean, I figured it out later, but here I was like, all right, I'm not gonna make it so predictable, so I'll make it go all the way up. But then I realized, you know what? It would be cooler if it was something like that. Now I start getting dirty. Start pulling out this little nasty piece. She's just, honestly, this is gonna badly mess your drawing up, but when you scan it in or when you take a photograph of it, it'll get rid of it. So I know how this works, and I know it's going to look like crap on my drawing. But I know when I take a photograph of it or scan it, it will disappear. So I'm willing to make my drawing look a little bit shitty for the purpose of the long run. So, okay, if you use this whiteout, it's very valuable. It really saves you a bunch of time and stuff. And I'll show you how to use it. So firstly, choose this whiteout. It's called Quick Dry. Did we talk about this on Tuesday? This quick dry stuff? We did, all right. Anyway, so use the quick dry. I'm gonna go in there, and since I feel strongly enough about this graphic, I'm gonna take away that dark line. I made it dark. So there we go. You know what, you can't even see it. And you know what, that's because the light on my camera, let me adjust the light. There we go. This is more realistic. This is really what it looks like on my desk. So I'm gonna show you that. You see my skin color is more natural. And you can see this ugliness that happens when I use the whiteout. But I don't care right now, because when I scan it and I send it to my client, he won't even notice. She won't even notice. Wait for it to dry, just a couple seconds. How I check to make sure it's dry is I shine it into the light at an angle, and I can see if it's shiny. That's how I can see if it's dry. It's pretty much dry. No, it's not really. Oh, damn it. Good thing about ballpoint pen is you can get whiteout on there. It doesn't matter. If you put whiteout, if you get whiteout on your Sharpie, forget it. It's over. Pen's ruined. Same with this. You put whiteout. You accidentally do whiteout. You put these pens on there. Adios to that pen. But this guy, I can dip it in paint and it won't be ruined. All I do is just clean off the tip. Okay. Anyway. I'm just going to fill in this switch, and I'm going to put in my details on, off, medium, full. I'm just going to put those in, place them in a nice line so they're well spaced. Now, let me tell you something about spacing. And I know I'm all over the shop here, but I might as well show you what I'm thinking and how it works. So when you gotta do, some, okay, I got this graphic here where it's on, off, full power, whatever. Here's my graphic that I'm applying to the side view, okay? So if I wanna put 3 dots in there, you start off with either the far ends or you start off with the middle. Now, what I mean, and in this case, I will start off with the middle. I start off with the middle dot. There, and now I'll put in the second dot. And now I know the distance, I eyeball it, and I can put in the 3rd dot. Now what somebody who is not so practiced might do is they might do this. They might start here, go bump, bump, bump. They'll start here and they'll go forward. You're not going to space it nicely. You want it nicely spaced. Well, I did it because I've done it so many times, but you want to start somewhere in the middle. So for example, let's try something a little more difficult. Up here, I could just start like this, and this is how a lot of people do. I'm just going to just blah, blah, blah. Well, I spaced them nicely here, but when I got to the end, it's not nicely spaced. So if you start, for example, in the corners there, now you know your ends are sweet. You know that's going to be nicely squared into that thing. So now I've got my 2 planted ones. Eyeball it, so it's about there. And let's say I want 2. Now it's much easier to place these in, and everything looks nice and trim. And everything is nicely squared away. Whereas you see, it's not so well done up here because I did it like bump, 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 bump. And this type of thinking is the same way a construction worker, when they're working on building a house and they're quality people, they will do it like this. But somebody who's not such high quality will do it like this. Okay, as an example, you want to place some knobs. Yeah. You want to place some knobs down. You know, you're going to start off with the two ends, and then you're going to put one in the middle and then space it out. But in an engineering, let me just talk to you a little bit about engineering. So I guess I've never really seen the bottom of this thing, to be honest. But anyway, oh, wait, you can't see. Okay, here, I put it in the light so you can see more clearly. Oh, there we go. Wait, hold on, I'm getting confused. You know what, I'm just gonna do this. Why is it so shadowy over here? All right, see these, there's 4 holes. If you were to take this apart and reassemble it, so you reassemble it, you're taking these screws out, then now you're putting it back together, you put the plate back on, and you've got your 4 screws. You would firstly go here and here. You'd put those in first, and then you put these in. And it's all a way of making sure you have everything torqued and everything put together real nice. So if you were to screw this one in first, this one in second, this one in third, this one in fourth, you're distributing it's getting tight there, now tight here, and you're not making it balanced when you're screwing it together, and down at the end here, it could kind of cause some problems. I know this sounds kind of weird, but so you would start from here and here and then go from here to here. Now, I know that's not much to do with drawing, but it's something to do with having a quality approach, having a way of thinking about things. Anyway, I sound like an asshole, don't I? All right, so flashlight. I'm just going to simply do a little thing up there, which is suggestive of a reflection. Now down here, I'm just going to do an arcway because it's a concave lens. Maybe I did it the wrong way. I don't know. I'll just color that in. And some nice simple strokes. And so this is one thing for, you know, drawing elliptical based design stuff, which is what I would like you guys and girls, I mean, everyone's guys, I guess. This is what I'd like you to do for homework, elliptical based things. So let me do something else, maybe not as predictable as a flashlight. So I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna start off with the ellipse again. And I don't even know, I have an idea that this is gonna be a speaker. So drew the ellipse. Now I'm going to use the ellipse to do the perspective. So I'm going to put in the axle after. And I think I'm going to make this into a square. I'm going to, let me just put in, hold on, let me just see what's going on here. Let me just think about this. Okay, I'm going to start putting in perspective. Notice how I'm going super light. And I want it to transition into a square. This is like a less predictable way of doing a design based off ellipses. So I've got this square, and so what I'm thinking is, well, to be honest, I don't know. I want this to go up here. So really now I've really caused myself an issue. I'm just gonna have to figure this one out. Okay, it's a square here. And I'm gonna keep this parallel with this perspective. I'm not even gonna add perspective. It's just gonna be like this. This is kind of like a, okay. I'm sorry, I can't explain this right now. Basically, it's a rectangular type shape merging into an ellipse. And I wanted this to be a speaker, and I'm still going to make it a speaker. I'm going to erase all that. I don't want that. I'm going to make this a speaker like I said it was going to be. And I'm going to erase all that. So when I make a big boo-boo, I'm deliberate in marking it out like this. And I know that looks really bad, but I do that because I don't want to be confused, and because sometimes I get so into the zone and I'm not really thinking about what I'm designing in a way, and I will use that stuff. I have to remember this is a darn speaker, so I just really am blatant about erasing, and I'm not using a whiteout for that stuff. That's way too big. I only use whiteout for small things. So back to my theme of the speaker. I'm gonna put, okay, so if my I'm just gonna bust in an ellipse. I don't know if it's working or not, but I know what I want. I know that this is gonna be some sort of speaker stand. And it's gonna go in through here. And so parallel lines, this is that one side and this is the other side. So what this is it's gonna be a rotator. That's not a technical term, by the way. What this is it's gonna sit on a base, and this speaker is gonna be able to rotate up and down. And now I talk about it, I'm gonna draw an arrow to show that it can go up and down. It's rotating, and so let me just start fleshing in some other parts of the speaker. So that's the inner part of the speaker, and it will be able to rotate up and down based off of this pivot. And now let me start putting some design love into this base. And honestly, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm just sketching what feels good. I'm going with my feelings. And I'll start rounding stuff off. You know, sometimes it's nice if you don't think too hard about stuff, because you can get caught up into some real kind of anal things, and it can destroy your design. If you try to turn off, you'll come out with more natural stuff. And my talking to you guys and explaining stuff is making me turn off, and I'm thinking more about how to explain stuff than I am about the physical design. If I were by myself, I would try to achieve that same type of bliss, or I don't know, I'd try to achieve that same kind of enigma with music. I would put on music and focus more on the beats and the bass than I would the actual design, because it'll come out fresher. So let's just, okay, put a contour line here, it dives under. I'm putting in contour lines to help me figure out the mass. So this is this base. I'm gonna just copy and paste it down here. Notice all the parallel lines, hundreds of them. And this is back to the warming up stuff. And this perspective goes this way. This is a multi-perspective thing, because then this thing goes rotating, and I've got this base. So I went a little bit too crazy, but for a first lesson, but I kind of apologize a little bit. Okay, I'm lining up my hole. There's a hole in here. That's why I drew that line, and I'm just gonna eyeball it. Perspective is going this way, so there, okay. Now I'm gonna have to start firming up. So when you have things layering on top of one another, that starts to depict, for me, what lines need to be darkest. So this line, It's on top of everything because it's the base, its legs. That needs to be super dark because it's covering up all this. Next layer is this thing. Next layer is this. So I start to build up some depth. How is everyone doing? I know I sound like a YouTube video. Is everyone cool?
Doing good.
Pretty
good.
Yeah, nobody has any questions? Okay. Yeah, if you have any comments or questions or whatever, please let me know because I'm just getting into the zone and kind of you just got to tell me if you need something. All right. So, let's get into the speaker a little bit more. Some contour curves. And I'm going to make it conical. I'm just going over my lines here just so I can kind of figure out what's going on because it gets confusing when all my lines are light. So there, because I'm going to start shading in pretty soon. But before I start shading, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm shading. So I'm creating this form language. Notice how in the stand, I started this form language in the stand, and I'm going to start translating this form language into the details. So, for example, I started chamfering. I built in this weird shape, kind of like a hole. Oh, by the way, I'll be able to see through that hole. Put that in. So this form language, and it's got these chamfers around the corners. So the corners are just not 90-degree corners. They've got chamfers. So I'm starting to build that form language into the speaker itself. So I'll start putting in some contour curves. Oops, put it in the wrong place. There, and it comes out like this. And it sticks out like this. I think I'm going to add some extra bolts. So I'm going to put an ellipse here, ellipse here. These are extra bolts. So now my language is starting to be like, it's kind of like, I don't know what it is like. It's just basically some sort of mounting point. And it's going to go around. And I'm going to curve all my lines. So each corner is going to be slightly curved. Okay. So this is the point where I go into a little bit of a side view. So I'm going to go do a little side view right here. I'm going to start off with the base. It goes like this, and then an ellipse. And it curves around. And then it has little bevels all around it. Just building up all of these shapes. Being super loose and light. And start rounding off my corners, all the corners. That's my side view of the base. And let's make the speaker go at an angle. So I'll just build a simple rectangle at an angle. Make sure my corners are 90 degrees. And then speaker sticks out like this. Dives in like that. This is where my screws are. That's one screw. Hold on, I'm confused. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm gonna leave it. If you don't know what you're doing and you're confused, just leave it and come back to it later, because it'll come to you. So I don't know exactly how my side view is working in these corners. So I'm just gonna leave it. I'll start fleshing out what I do know. That's my speaker. And I'm gonna just do a little ghosted speaker in here. That is what that is meant to be. The proportion looks really off on this because this thing is so massive and my base is so small. So you know what? That looks odd, so I'm gonna kind of abandon. Well, let's just see how this pans out. I need a stronger base, bigger base, because this would tip over. I know that would be tipping over. And here, I need a wider base. Well, that side view is not really in accordance with this. So I might modify this, but I don't think so. I've already gone too far. I can't modify this drawing. But I can kind of suggest a little bit that, yes, I made a mistake. And I will hint at how it should be, but I'm not going to go too far. You know, a lot of it is not drawing everything, but letting the boss see your sketch, figure it out himself or herself. All right. Now, I'm going to start working on this side view a little bit and trying to differentiate. There's a back piece and then there's a base piece. So firstly, I'm going to start putting in heavy lines around this base to try to pop it off from its background, which is a speaker. And as I start filling these details in the side view, it makes me also think about filling in these same details in the 3D view. So I just had this little, I guess where you stick your fingers and you either tighten it or loosen it so you can adjust the angle. So I've got my base. Now I'm gonna put in the actual speaker behind. And since there's some cores right here, I'm just going to shade that so it looks like a core. And I guess I'll do the same up here as well. Down here as well. Shadows. Shadows. Everything that's downward facing is a shadow. Since this is the other side, I don't care. It's the back side. So I'm just going to shade that whole sucker in. I'm just going to shade that whole thing. A few more shadings. I'm gonna shade in this chamfer. And a little bit down here. And a little bit more down here. And in the bottom part of the speaker cone. Okay. Now I'm going to start shading in the back. I mean the side view. So this started off as a cylindrical type of thing, but it turned into a real squarey thing. Oh my god. Okay. Start shading in some of the side view. And now for a little bit of explanations on my paper. I'm going to just do something like this. This is suggestive of music coming out. So now it becomes a little bit more clear what it is. This is part of the storytelling. Just little details like this help. You know, otherwise they might see this. What is that? Is that a flashlight, or is that a disco light, or is that what is that thing? Well, these little sound waves are supposed to suggest a sound. And here's another nice little trick if you're doing sound. I'm putting in three-dimensional sound waves here. And let's do something cute. Let's do something like a little antenna. Let's say it's Wi-Fi controlled or something. So I'm going to put in something like a little antenna. This is going to be a light. Let's just say this is a light. And so how I'm going to depict this as a light is the cliche rays coming off the sun type light. That's a light. Those are sound. So I'm going to put that same little antenna up here. I'm going to show lights coming out of that as well. Maybe I put an LED in there. That's what that is. Okay. Just a few more little touches on this thing. I need a shadow because this frame, its stand, its legs are there. And so I'm going to just duplicate the shapes, but curve it under. And I'm going to shade all that in. This is the other side. It's actually the speaker box thing. So that's what that is. And you know, I'm going to put a shadow, even though it's not technically correct if the sunlight's coming this way. I'm stylizing the shadow. Shadows can be stylized to perform two things: to help show the shape of your thing, but also for style reasons, and for graphic. We're graphic designers as well. We should style things, shadows. If you need to style the shadow, you know, we can do that. Anyway, that's what that's theoretically supposed to. Oh, anyway, whatever. Okay. Okay, this obnoxious mistake here is bothering me, but there's not much I can really do about it. I will continue shading in a few more areas while I figure out what to do about that obnoxious, disturbing mistake. I don't know what to do yet. I mean, I could do a front view. I could do something to cover it up. What am I going to do? Well, how about I just do a background? I'm going to do a background. Oh, wait a sec. I'm going to try to be smart with the background. So let me just get everything square, paper and everything, because let me just think about this. Okay. Now, this is actually taking some brain power, so let me just figure this out first. I'm going to use a straight edge. If you use the backgrounds, backgrounds should be used as a tool. Backgrounds are not just a, oh, pop it off, make it 3D. Yes, that's true, it is for that. But it's also a tool. So I'm using this background. I'm putting a line through here, and then it hits the speaker. So I stop that background. Imagine it's going through the speaker, behind the speaker, and it comes out here. Now I'm putting it in this little section, and then I'm gonna, hold on, I'm gonna choose 90 degrees, and I'll tell you the thinking behind all of this. And then it cuts out here. Okay, this is my background. Now, what I'm thinking about this is, there's a hole inside here. There's a hole inside my frame that's holding the speaker. And then, so this is the bottom of the speaker. Let me just shade that in. But what I'm trying to do, and I'm going to illustrate this with a marker for illustration purposes. We're not getting into markers yet, but for illustration purposes, I'm going to show you. Let me get a marker. All right. Now, what if you do a background and maximize its use? It works to show things like holes. Now, I'm just gonna go here, go around here. Oh, my marker's running out. Goes around here. This is not a marker lesson. I'm just having to do this to show you. My background ends here. And then it goes in here. So what I've done, now let me color this in. Firstly, when you marker, you make a fence, or I do at least. Okay, there's my fence. So now I can bleed. So now I can get away with a little bit more. So this is 90 degrees. I'm just going to go 90 degrees. Is my hair in the way? Quite often my hair gets in the way. So now my background basically is used to really accentuate the fact that there's a hole in here. Now I'm going to recreate the same concept in here. So let's put in a background. I want to make sure that you can see some red in here. So there. I'm trying to be parallel with my base. So in fact, I'm going to use a straight edge. Oops, my lines aren't very straight, but anyway, okay, there. And then I'm going to make it go here And then I'm going to go up 90 degrees. Just out of craftsmanship, I'm going to line up that background with this background. Luckily, I have this rolling ruler, but you know, you can also eyeball it, but I just happen to have this thing with me. I've had this thing since I was in high school. Okay, so that's my background, and I'm going to use the background to help accentuate the fact that there's a hole in here. So when you place your backgrounds, use them for maximum efficiency to express your idea. Add that fence. On the antenna. And it goes up like this. And I'm gonna maintain my style of this straight 90 degrees. Okay, I know we're going a little advanced, but I'm purposely angling my marker. Let's get some more light. Let's just turn this light up a little bit so you can see more clearly. There, and also the color is not right, so let's just adjust the color. Because I'm not using red. I'm using. This is more realistic. This is what my drawing looks like. Okay. I'm angling. I don't know if you can see, but I'm angling my marker the same angle as my lines. So, and I'm trying to go keep it 90 degrees. I'm angling each time. So, but here I'm not. It's too much. There. Okay. So backgrounds are very useful to help show things. So I guess I'm basically kind of done with this, but when you're doing a sketch, go that extra mile and say, all right, rubber, hard plastic, who knows what it is. Let the engineer figure that out, hard plastic. Pivot. And okay, and so next thing, what I do is basically, I'm okay with this muscle memory. I might as well do all of these circles at the same time because I'm in that muscle memory mode. Arrowheads. Okay. Just to finish off this sketch, I just put in some little weird decorative frame. We'll call this the whatever, pivot. I'm really original. If I could think of something cool, then I would, but I cannot. Okay, P1 V0 T. Pivot pilot. Oh, whatever. Pivot pilot. Okay. So there. Now wait, what time is it? It's 2:42. We still have 30 minutes. I went a little hog wild with this thing, a little bit, but I went straight into like kind of a sketch. But what I prefer to do, if I'm going to stick with this circular cylindrical theme, which you guys should also do for homework, I'm going to start doing a bunch of thumbnails. So kind of jump the gun. Normally I'd start with thumbnails first, but I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes, and please shout out if you have any questions, and I'll post all of this onto Blackboard. But back to focusing on cylindrical things, and I'm going to focus cylindrical speakers. And for your guys' homework, if you're doing cylindrical things, try to have a theme, like if you're doing water bottles or lighting or something. But this is early days. You don't have to. You can do flashlights, water bottles, whatever you want. So I'm not going to pigeonhole you into sticking with one thing. So you're open. But for me, just for this focus, I'm going to really focus on speakers. And now I'm using a V10, this felt pin, or I could be using a Sharpie. Maybe I'd go for Sharpie. And Sharpie, and now I'm just going to do just really simple, small thumbnails with this cylindrical theme. And it's all going to be speakers. So this is one little cutie. Okay, it just happened to turn out kind of cute, so it's pink now. And maybe it's got a cord. Okay, this is one idea, and then maybe I just do a simple shadow. Okay, this is one idea. See some others. Let's just do something just a little wacky. The shadow. Let's try some other stuff. I have to change my mode. I've been drawing with ballpoint pen. Now I'm with this, so a little heavy-handed, a little all over the place. But let's try just a standard. Let's try dome. Oh, it looks like a ghost, like a Pac-Man ghost. The shadow. I'll put a contour curve in there just to show that it kind of flares out. Let's try something else. Let's start just start right off with an ellipse. And maybe it's an accidental pyramid. No, this is an ugly one. Wow. Well, it's so ugly. It looks like it's going to tip forward. Since it looks like it's going to tip forward, I'll put in a couple little kickstands in there so it doesn't kick forward. Here's my shadow. And let's make it halfway, a little bit better. Not so ugly. Center line. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3. Let's try. These are all fairly ugly, all very ugly, except for the mouse. It takes time to get into this stuff. Let's try something else, something completely. Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes. Huh, potato. What am I gonna do with that thing? Speaker in here. Maybe this is called the eye. Put a little contour curve in there. Cups in. There's a speaker in there. Okay. Maybe I'll do some screw holes in there. But that's classically pretty ugly, but in this case, maybe I can get away with it. Shadow. Let's kind of got a hand. Maybe it's got a lanyard. Maybe these are portable speakers. So a lanyard. If this is a portable, if I'm going portable, maybe this has got a strap. If you could hang it down. All right, so this is me thinking, so what if there's a dude, woman, doesn't matter, and his arm, he's walking, and then this thing hangs down, and it's like this, this, this. So all this sound is coming up to him. So he's there. I imagine myself, there I'm walking, and I got these 3 speakers, because I'm tying these 2 together. 3 speakers are coming at me. All right, so I need a strap that goes here. There's a mounting point here. There's a mounting point here. That's a strap. So basically, these two are the same concept. So it's just like that. So since these are the same concept, I'm going to draw a box. So this is where backgrounds come in useful once again. So this is one concept, and it comes up. So this is like my only worth. This concept is halfway decent. I kind of like this one too. So I only have two good concepts here. That's total bullshit. This is not so bad, and that's totally ugly. That's potato head. So, but that's too crappy a drawing. So I've got concept one, concept two. Out of my page of thumbnails, I've got two ideas, and how am I gonna? I'm gonna start doing a little simple shadings. Down here. This one's called Ghostly International. I'll just call it Ghostly. This one is, don't know. Just call it Threesome. So it's got 3 speakers. Okay, let's start fleshing some of this out just a little bit. The obligatory, tacky, bolt-on speaker stuff. And I'm going to do a line coming out of each one of these because I'm going to show the sound waves coming out of there. Sound waves coming out of here. I just ruined Ghostly, but let's put a pinstripe in him because I see some potential. This is a pinstripe that goes around him. Or her, maybe it's a her. I'll put in a core just in this area just to show that it's a painted graphic. Maybe down in here as well. And then also in this extra pinstripey type thing. In here. And then in here. Okay, and then of course shade in my shadow. Okay, that's concept 1. This is concept 2. Ghostly, Threesome. Okay, and now put in my basic shadows in here. And some cores. There. So I've got 2 concepts, and what I would do out of this thumbnail is I'm going to, how much time? We've got still 15, 20, 25 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an overall picture. I could scan it, but actually photographing is faster. So I'll firstly get the overview. I'll get this whole overview of my sketch page. Now I'll zoom in on my favorites, Ghostly, and the Threesome. I'm going to send them to my, through Bluetooth to my computer. Share, 1, 2, 3, and showing 3 images. Share. Oh, well, while I'm at it, is it sending? Oh, Bluetooth? Nope. Oh, messed up. I'm normally an iPhone person, but I tried this phone as an experiment and as a rebellious against Apple because I love Apple, but I'm so peed off that they do not have a pen enabled phone yet, and I've been asking for it for years. Wait, what am I doing? Share, that one, that one, that one. Well, since I messed up, I might as well be efficient and take a photo of that and this, so I can share it all in one little blast. No, I don't like Samsung at all. I wish I didn't buy this phone. It takes really great photos, but I bought it only because it's got a pen and I can draw sometimes on this phone, but I never use it because it's so crappy. Anyway, so there's that one and then this. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to put together a PDF and how you perhaps should do the same. So there, get it all lined up, get some good light, make sure you don't have really bad light. And now I can share all of this onto my computer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 drawings. Share. Bluetooth. On Mac. Okay. There it goes. It's going to take a couple of minutes. Get my really ugly keyboard. I've gone through so many keyboards. This one I've had for like 10 years, but I've had cordless ones, but I keep spilling stuff on it, like drink. So they're all ruined, except for this one. Good old Bertha. Just gonna, okay. It's gonna take a little bit. I'm gonna turn off my video just for a sec. Okay, close this thing down a little bit. So I just show you my whole desktop so you can really see how this is working. So just pulling these together. I guess I'll have Photoshop open already. Yep, I already have it open, great. Saves me time. Let's save. Okay, I'll go to my downloads using my nice bridge. I could use the, you know the deal. I could use the bridge. Where are you? Where is bridge? Ah. All right, then I'll just go to my normal Finder, Macintosh Finder. Downloads, and it was the 5. You see, this is why I don't like using the thumbnails. Maybe there's a way to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's a way to increase those thumbnails, but I've never figured it out. Drag that into Photoshop. Okay. Here's one of my thumbnails, image rotate. Counterclockwise, that's my full page. Now my zoom ins, so let's see what else I got. There's my little ghostly image rotation. Turn it counterclockwise. That is the correct orientation. Image rotation. Counterclockwise. This one, that looks like it's in the correct orientation. And then finally this one, which is the whole thumbnail page. Okay, so I'm going to adjust this stuff. Firstly, I'm going to just crop it a little bit because I don't want all this weird stuff behind it. Okay, crop. Get rid of the ugly. I mean, there's a lot of ugly on here, but I'm not getting rid of everything. Here we go. Next step is Control L levels. In case you don't know where that is, it's up here, image, adjust. It's in this top 10 levels, and let's crank this sucker up. So oh, I'm gonna start off with the white. Really get that nice and clean and white. And this, make the blacks black. That's more or less okay. I don't care. It's a little faded in there, but I'm fine. Next one, this one. Pop this sucker. There we go. Oh, shoot. Come on, where is it? There it is. There. With the pilot. That's so ridiculous. I'm embarrassed. All right. There's that. Levels, Control L. I showed you how to get there before. If you need to know again, ask. Actually, I'm going to crank up the blacks first. And get rid of that white stuff. That looks kind of good. Okay. That one's done. I'm good with that. Next one is this. Crop this. Oh, shoot. And I'm going to show that sun up there so you know where the light's coming from. That's good enough. And Control L, levels. I'm going to start up with the dark on this. And then, so you can see the white out clearly, but then I'm going to try to hide that as well as possible by jacking the white up. And there it starts to disappear. You can't see it anymore, basically. Okay, so that's why I knew I'd be okay with that white out, even though it looks horrible on your actual live sketch. Anyway, what's this one? This is, okay. It's already cropped, so Control L. Get the white. I know the black's going to be totally fine. So brighten that up and crank up the black. Not that it did anything. There's that one. And you know what? I'm just going to quickly erase out. I'm choosing eraser or here, and I'm just going to erase out this. And the mouse concept. Stupid thing right there. And also ghost delete. Take that out. As far as thumbnails are concerned, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be super like anal about it. Okay, so there's that concept. And finally, the last concept, Mr. Ghoster here. Control L. I think I'm going to jack up the white first, because I know that black is going to be fine. Sharpie is very, very strong, so it'll always pop off. I don't have to worry about losing stuff. Whereas the ballpoint pen is so subtle. Then, oh, let's get rid of all of this. This. All right. So now how I'm going to lay this out is I'm going to make a new page, file, new. Oh, sorry. Get on Photoshop, file, new letter size paper, in print, letter, landscape, create. So I'm going to firstly show our two concepts. I'm going to grab all that, Control A, Control copy, and then where's my new one right here? Control V, Control T, which is transform. Here's my ghostly. And the second concept, so that's ghostly. Second concept is this messy piece. Control A, which is select all. Control C. Control V. Control T. So these are my two concepts for my thumbnails. Multiply this sucker so I can see through it. Multiply, and then arrange them nicely. So at least they're kind of halfway, halfway kind of presented in this. So, all right, I'm cool with that. Maybe there's a space here I can draw on there if I print it out again. So anyway, two concepts, file, save as, work, CCS, work, CCS, This is fall, product design, winter semester. I'm a new folder, sketches. This is going to be a fat folder by the end of the semester. Sketches, create. What's this one called? Oh, thumbnails. 2 concepts. PSD. I guess I'll save it as a JPEG. Save. Okay, that's going to be one of my pages in my homework. Oh, this one's going to be another page. I'm letting it all hang out, just showing me everything, all crap. So I'm just going to save it as a JPEG. Save as. By the way, that's not a really nice thumbnail page for me, but where am I saving this? Work. Save as work. Yes. Oh, not summer classes. Fall. Design. Sketches. Thumbnail page. Yes, page 2 of my homework. What else have I got? Did that one. No, I didn't do that one. Did I do that one? Shoot. Well, anyway, while that opens, I'm going to save my other ones. So flashlight, file, save as, work, sketches, flashlight, JPEG, save, okay, and then finally I had that weird pilot pivot thingy. File, save as, in a shortcut, instead of I have to keep going through all that stuff, it just is automatically down here. If you click on this, it automatically takes you to recent places. So you don't have to keep going through all of those folders. Sketches, there we go. Oh, I'm calling this, what did I call it? Stupid something. Pivot, I'm just gonna call it pivot. Pivot, that's another sketch. Now, let's just see if my bridge is open, because I wanna make sure I wanna make sure I didn't, well, I don't know what bridge is. Where's bridge? Where are you? Well, I don't know where the bridge is. So I'll have to go through this thing. And I'm going to drag them all into okay, those are my 4 concepts. Drag that into Acrobat. Yes, yes, yes. It's basically saying you can create a single document from all these image files you're opening. Would you like to pull the images files in one document? Yes. It makes it much easier to make the PDF. Yes, everything's imported. Let's just check out my page layout. I mean, not page layout, but page. So I think I'm going to start off with my page of thumbnails at the top. So you get an overview, and then we start moving into. I focused on a couple of thumbnails. I would actually work on those a little bit more on a printout. And there was one of the early sketches, and there's another early sketch. And I'm going to finish off with the best one. So I'll save this as, file, save as. The date is 0903. Oh, it should be here, sketches. 09.03 demonstration. 0903 demonstration, and it's saved in the sketches. Okay, save. While that is saving, I'm going to go into my drive. CCS drive shared with me. Oh, I just saw it. I just saw it. I'm gonna go back. I just saw it. Viscom. Oh, 3 videos. Viscom 2. All right. Anyway, shared drives. Nope. Let's go with this one. Shared drives. Viscom 3. All right. I'm gonna have a problem. Viscom 3. Viscom videos. Portable items. Oh, Viscom 3 homework Dropbox. There we go. And I'll find myself. Oh, here I am. And drag that in. Some sketches. There's the PDF. Titled with the date. Drag it in. It's my first homework I've turned in. It'll take a couple of minutes. Okay. Stop sharing my screen. While that loads, it'll take a couple of minutes. All right, class. Oh, damn it. I didn't even have my, tell me when I don't have my camera on because I forget about it. All right. Was that intense? It was intense for me. Yeah, you're good? Okay. Well, I have to get on my bike. All right, so 5 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions or do you kind of know what you're doing? Gonna give me homework on Tuesday?
So 5 pages of sketching is a minimum.
Yep, that's
minimally. So what is the extra?
Well, this week is, next week is 5 because it's at the beginning of semester. But the following weeks is only 7. I'm only giving you minimum seven sketches a week due every Tuesday. And how I was thinking about it was, well, at least you could do 1 sketch per day, 7 days a week. And, that's minimum. And I figure, if you do 1 sketch per day and spend at least an hour on it, you're going to come up with something halfway decent. That's my thinking. But if you give in more pages, then, that looks better, unless you do something like, I don't know, I can see if you didn't do anything, if you're just trying to rack up your pages, I can see that. So, some thumbnails, some experiments, you want to do one big thing or whatever, just whatever. So, this is the first time, just send me 5 pages of sketches. But I would like it all to have some cylindrical elements to it, or cylindrical based, just so we can really nail down the ellipses. Whatever you want to do. If you want to do like a couple of pages of lighting, if you want to do a couple of pages of speakers or glasses or bottles, I'll leave it up to you. You do however which way you feel comfortable. If you want to experiment with pen, if you want to experiment with pencil or ballpoint pen, however you want to do it. I'm not strict at all. I mean, because it's up to you and what you like using, and you discover what you like using. And so, okay, put it all together in a nice PDF. So whenever you load a PDF every Tuesday, you can have it with the date at first. So we'll be able to see the chronological order of it. And by the end of the semester, you should have 15 PDFs in there, or 14 PDFs. It's actually 15 weeks, this class. So it'll be nice and it'll be easy for me because I want to spend more of my time showing you how to do stuff rather than having to mess around with like taking your, all JPEGs. Oh man, what? I'd rather have it all condensed so I can open it and so then I can quickly take your thing, draw on it with my Cintiq and help you fix it if it needs fixing. And it just makes it nice and easy to look for inside the Google Drive folder. And don't forget to turn your drawings so they're the correct way, because then I'll like, oh crap, I got to turn it around. And portrait, landscape stuff. And so just have fun, really. Just have fun and try to enjoy yourself. Is everyone good? Was I too fast? No? Okay, good.
And then this will be also uploaded to the YouTube?
Yeah, I will. But let me just warn you that these video files are like 2 or 3 gigs, and so it takes. Firstly, it takes a lot of time because they render these videos actually at Zoom, wherever that is. So we'll finish our meeting, and then it'll say, all right, Zoom is rendering your video, and it takes like an hour or 2. So I got to wait a couple of hours for it to render, and then I download it. It takes a little while to download, and then I have to upload it onto YouTube, which actually does take quite a long time. The upload might take an hour, but then it sits in YouTube for like a good couple of hours, and I don't know what they're doing. They might be checking for like, I don't know what they do with it, to be honest. Check if somebody's trying to kill themselves, or check if there's porn on there. Or, honestly, I don't know what they do, why they keep it for 2 hours. And then finally it says, all right, your video is ready. And so it takes a little while for it all to kind of, for all these processes to happen. And I'm doing this for 2 classes because I have a class in the morning. So now I'm going to render this video. Meanwhile, I'm going to upload the other class. And so I'm going to upload all of this stuff, and I'll hopefully have it all up by tonight.
Okay.
Okay then, guys. Well, I had fun. I hope you had some fun too. Next time we'll have more dialogue. I feel like I'm hogging the whole thing. Just blah, 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 blah. You know, guys, shout out. But Tuesday is going to be super dialogue-y for all of us, because I'm going to be looking at your drawings. You're going to be talking to me, and we'll be dialoguing a lot, and I'll be showing you how to do stuff, and you're going to be asking me questions. So Tuesday, you guys will have a lot more chance to talk. Okay, are we good?
Yep.
All right then, awesome. Thank you all, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Bye.